Well, good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Sir.
Welcome to you all. I'm in the college today. Hope you all will be able to come to college soon. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Today I am going to start with the unit 4. Okay. So far we have completed up to 3 units. So now is the unit 4. So this unit 4 has contents like if you see the different heads of income, there are 5 heads of income. The first head of income is income from salary. Second head is income from house property. Third head is income from PGBP. What is PGBP? Profits and gains of business or profession. And fourth head of income is income from capital gains. And the last head of income is income from other sources. So this unit 4 is about the fifth head of income, that is income from other sources. And this unit is also followed by very important directions that are permitted under section 80C to section 80U. Okay, let us briefly go through what is, see, whatever is not covered in the other 4 heads of income, all those will come in the income from other sources. So as per the Income Tax Act, okay, supposing somebody receives a dividend from a company other than a domestic company. Okay, supposing a foreign company has invested and the foreign company gives him the dividend. So the dividend will be considered under the income from other sources. Similarly, any pension received by the legal heirs of an employee. Supposing there is an employee who was receiving pension after his retirement, let us say he expires. Okay, his wife or one of his legal heirs will start getting pension. Okay, so whoever gets pension after the employee's death, okay, so those people, when they receive pension, that becomes income from other sources. Okay, and any winnings from lotteries, crosswords, puzzles, races, okay, horse race and all these things, they are again considered here. Income from any plant, machinery or furniture let out on hire, okay, where it is not the business of the assessee to do so. Okay, whenever somebody owns a plant and that is not used for his business purpose, he is giving only for rent and receives some rent on that. Maybe it is a plant, machinery or furniture, he is giving it on rent, and the rent is considered under income from other sources. Okay, income from securities by way of interest, securities, okay, like bonds, okay, bonds or fixed deposits. Okay, so the interest received when somebody keeps these bonds. Okay, and any sum received by the assessee from his employees as contribution to any staff welfare scheme. Okay, supposing the assessee is an employer and he is collecting the contribution from his employees towards staff welfare scheme. Okay, that again becomes a part of income from other sources. Similarly, income from subletting. Okay, so an assessee has taken something on rent and he rents it to somebody else, a third party. Okay, but he receives something like that, that becomes again a income from other sources. Interest on bank deposits. Okay, FDs in banks. Okay, fixed deposits people keep in banks, and on that when they receive interest, that is again interest on bank deposits. Not only the income from the FDs, but even income from or the interest on the savings bank account. Okay, when you keep a money in banks, they give you interest. Okay, even if it is savings bank account. So on that also there is, you have to consider under income from other sources. Similarly, income received under Keyman insurance policy. Keyman insurance policy is an important person in a company. Okay, will be provided with Keyman insurance, and any proceedings of this Keyman insurance when this is received, that goes under income from other sources. And also an individual or HUF, okay, Hindu undivided family, receives in any previous year from any person or persons. Okay, supposing a person or an assessee or a member of a HUF receives some amount, okay, which is less than 50,000, okay, so that is again income from other sources, okay. So apart from this, there are so many other things that are considered as income from other sources. So those things have to be considered. Okay, let us see one simple problem now. Okay, this problem is about one person, a college professor. Okay, a college professor like me, let us say. So he has furnished this following information. So when it is a college professor, you can see here he is getting income from salary. Okay, college professor who is working, he receives income from salary. But apart from that, he has got these many things like examination remuneration of rupees 7,000. Okay, so he received exam remuneration. Okay, supposing he has gone out as like an examiner to conduct viva, or he has gone to some other college to undertake evaluation of the papers, and whatever he receives there. Okay, so that is again given here 7,000 rupees. Royalty from books and articles. So he has written books and articles, and on that he receives royalty from the publishers. Okay, that is 25,000 given here. Winnings from card games. He has given that he has won some card game, and that is rupees 6,700. Winnings from state lottery. Okay, he has received rupees 30,000 under state lottery. And expenditure on purchase of lottery tickets, rupees 12,000. Okay, if you consider all this here, so what is his income from other sources? We have to find out. Okay, if you come to this table here, let us just see fast here. This table is just for your information. This is not for exam point of view. This problem is not from exam point of view. It's just for your extra information. Okay, see in this one here, examination remuneration. So this is not considered income from salary. So we are considering it here as one of the sources of income from other sources. Okay, 7,000 rupees are taken. Similarly, royalty from books and articles. Okay, you can see here he has taken 25,000 rupees. So 25,000 rupees again we have to consider here. And winnings from card games, 6,700 rupees. Okay, winnings from card games, 6,700 rupees. Winnings from state lottery, 30,000. And see here, all these things he has received. Okay, and he has spent something here, expenditure on purchase of lottery tickets, 12,000 rupees. So this is not going to be considered here as income because this is a spending. Okay, so whatever he has spent to avail this, okay, is not considered here as income. Okay, so excepting expenditure on purchase of lottery tickets, okay, all the other things are considered here: examination remuneration, royalty from books and articles, winnings from card games, winnings from state lottery, income from, okay, and sum of all this is nothing but income from other sources. Okay, so he's a college professor here. Apart from income from salary, okay, so what is his income from other sources? Okay, whatever is furnished here, all the incomes you have to consider, but we have to leave the expenditure. Okay, so income is 68,000. How we got this? We have just added all the above. Okay, here in this problem. Okay, so this is about income from other sources. Okay, so this is the fifth head actually, which is to be considered for total income. Okay, so moving further, is it clear? This is just for your information. I told you this problem. Okay, may not be that important here. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then let us proceed next to, okay, deductions from gross total income. Okay, section 80C to 80U, which is very important. As I said, see, once we find income from the 5 different heads of income, okay, like income from salary, house property, okay, PGBP, capital gains, and income from other sources. So we get the total income, okay, gross total income we find. So from this gross total income, we can subtract something, we can deduct something, okay. So all those deductions are given in the chapter 6, okay. Under chapter 6, we have section 80C to 80U, okay. So section 80C to 80U, people do invest in these avenues which are given in section 80C to 80U, okay. And let us see the important ones from section 80C to 80U, okay. Which are those deductions permissible, and what are the exemption limits for each of them, okay. Let us see each one of them. See, section 80 deduction table, okay. Section is given here, left hand side, and deduction on what instruments is given here. Then allowed limit, okay. This you can see here, this is the latest one from the financial year 2018-19, okay. See, to start with section 80C, okay, what instruments are considered in section 80C, okay. So investment in PPF, Public Provident Fund, employees' share of Provident Fund contribution, national savings certificates, LIC premium payments, children's tuition fees, okay, home loan principal payment, okay. You can see here, if somebody has taken a home loan, and the principal payment that he makes, that is considered under section 80C. This is not the interest payment, okay. This is the principal payment, okay, of home loan. Investment in Sukanya Samriddhi account, ULIPs, okay. ULIPs are unit linked insurance policies, okay. ELSS, okay, some pay to purchase deferred annuity. So ELSS is equity linked saving schemes, okay, equity linked saving schemes, okay. For example, some mutual funds are there or some equities are there, okay, and on that there are some saving schemes. Those are called as the ELSS, okay. 5-year deposit scheme from the banks, senior citizen saving schemes, okay, some notified deposit schemes, contribution to notified pension fund, subscription to home loan account, okay, national housing banks, subscription of public sector deposits, contribution to annuity plan of LIC, okay. This annuity plan of LIC is taken usually by the people who are going to retire, okay, retirement plans. And subscription to equity shares or debentures of an approved eligible issue, okay. Government sometimes notifies saying that investments in these equity shares can be considered under section 80C, okay. And similarly, subscription notified bonds of NABARD, okay. So all these things, okay, these are some, this is just a list here, okay. Investment in all these things, okay, will be considered for section 80C. Section 80C is all these things, okay, together, okay, together. And then we have section 80CCC, okay. So this is an annuity plan of LIC, okay. This is for pension fund, okay, pension fund of LIC, okay, somebody is contributing. That is section 80CCC. Then section CCD1, okay, and there is something called as a national pension scheme, okay, NPS. Any contribution made by the employee, okay, to the extent of they are given here 1,50,000. So one can spend up to 1,50,000 in NPS scheme, okay, national pension scheme. So 80C, 80CCC, and then 80CCD1, okay, CCD1. So all these things together make up for an allowable limit of 1,50,000, okay. Up to 1,50,000 one can invest in section 80C, 80CCC, 80CCD1, okay. Together they make up 1,50,000. People can choose out of this in which one they want to invest how much, okay. It is left to the discretion of individual assessee, okay. So this is section 80C, 80CCC and CCD1. Similarly, we have an additional, okay. Supposing over and above 1,50,000, somebody wants to contribute more into NPS account. NPS is what? National Pension Scheme account, okay. that comes under section 80 CCD subsection 2. Okay, again up to 10% of salary can be considered here under NPS scheme. Additional contribution to NPS up to 50,000 again. Okay, see here, this is 80 CCD2 is employer's contribution. Okay, employer's contribution to NPS scheme up to 10% of salary. Okay, employer can contribute. That will be considered under section CCD2. Section CCD1B, okay, up to 50,000 extra one can invest. Okay, in section 80 CCD1B. Similarly, there's one more section here, section 80 TTA1. Okay, so this is for interest income from savings account. Okay, supposing when somebody keeps money in the savings bank account in any bank, so the bank gives them interest up to 10,000 rupees interest that is given by the bank can be considered as reduction under section TTA1. Okay, this is not interest from the FD. Okay, FD income doesn't come here. Only interest income from savings bank account, SB account interest. Okay, one can consider under section 80 TTA1. Okay, similarly, okay, 80 TTB, exemption of interest from banks, post office, etc. Okay, this is applicable to senior citizens. Up to 50,000 rupees one can claim here under section 80. Okay, similarly 80 GG. Okay, you can see here for rent paid when HR is not received from employer. See, we have seen while considering the income from salary of the employed people, they have considered section. Okay, this HRA there. Okay, HRA has allowance there. Supposing if the company or the organization doesn't give HRA, okay, but still somebody is paying rent, how can he claim that HRA? Okay, how can he claim that HRA? So in that case, okay, one can claim it under section 80 GG. Okay, so this is when the company doesn't give HRA, but people are paying rent. Okay, least of rent paid minus 10% of total income up to 5,000 rupees per month, 25% of total income. Okay. See, if you see this, what we have seen in our while calculating the exemption, okay, exempted HRA. Okay, so there we have taken okay, rent paid minus 10% of the salary. Okay, this we have seen 40% if it is in a non-metro, 50% if it is in a metro. Okay, so these things we have seen already. Okay, but this is section 80 GG here is for the people who are not getting HRA in the company. Okay, and then again somebody is paying interest on education loan. Okay, supposing when you start go and work for a company, you have taken some education loan now, and on that you pay the interest. Okay, so interest paid for a period of up to 8 years. Okay, can be claimed under section 80E. Okay, section 80E. So section 80EE. Okay, interest on home loan for first time homeowners. 80EE for interest on home loan. Okay, but you have seen there the principal on home loan. Okay, principal on home loan is where it is section 80C here. Okay, and section 80C here you can see here principal payment repayment of home loan. Okay, is here, but the interest payment for the first time users is where section. Okay, it is section first time homeowners is section 80E. Principal is considered under section 80C. The interest on home loan is considered under section 80E. Up to 50,000 of interest paid for the home loan taken for the first time homeowners is considered here. Okay. Similarly, okay, we have seen so many things. Section 80D, okay, which is again very important. Okay. Section 80D is medical insurance, okay, health insurance. When it is taken for the self, spouse, or children, to 25,000 is permissible, and medical insurance for the parents of who are more than 60 years old, okay, up to 50,000 is eligible, okay, permissible. You have to note this. For our problems, we are going to see section 80C and section 80D, okay. So these two we are going to consider for our problems. The other things here are for your information, okay. Section 80C, I'm going to consider for the problem all the section 80C, then section 80D, okay, is medical insurance. I'm going to consider in the problem that we're going to solve in future. Okay. Similarly, section 80DD is there. Okay. Section 80DD is no disability claim. Suppose somebody is having a handicapped dependent. Okay. Medical treatment of for the handicapped dependent up to 75,000. Okay. And up to 1,25,000 if the disability is more than 80%. Medical expenditure on self, okay, can be considered under section 80DD. And suppose somebody the assessor himself is suffering some disability. Okay, there is a section 80U. Okay, section 80U is for self suffering from disability. Okay, up to 75,000, and if individual is suffering from physical disability, mental retardation, it is up to 1,25,000. Okay. Severe it is 1,25,000. If it is mild, it is 75,000. Okay, section 80U. Similarly, when somebody makes contribution, okay, companies making contribution to political parties. Okay, supposing a company pays or contributes or donates to a political party, so that again the amount contributed to the political party in the form of checks, okay, is considered as deduction under section 80 GGB. Supposing if the contribution is made by individuals, not by companies, okay. If it is companies, it is section 80 GGB. If it is individuals, section 80 GGC. Okay, amount contributed by way of check or other than cash. Okay. Similarly, section 80 RRB is for deduction of income by way of royalty of a patent. Okay. See, when somebody receives an income, okay, income by way of royalty of a patent. So the royalty of patent, whatever is received, can be claimed as a deduction. Okay, up to 3 lakh received can be claimed there. The section 80 RRB. Okay, so these are section 80C to 80U deductions permissible. Okay, now let us go to a simple problem now. Okay, and before I go to that, okay, let me tell you something about in section 80C, as far as this insurance LIC premiums are there. Okay, LIC premiums are concerned. Okay, there is again a limit here. Okay, the life insurance premium paid. Okay, if it is for self, spouse, or any child in case of individual, and any member in case of HUF. Okay, the insurance premium should not exceed 20% of actual capital sum assured if the policy is issued before 2012. Okay, see, there is a benchmark here. If the LIC policy is taken before 2012, okay, if it is taken before 2012, up to 20% of the sum assured can be considered under section 80C. If the policy is taken after 2012, okay, only 10% of sum assured, okay, can be considered under section 80C. Okay. So we are going to solve this in the problem next now. Let us see how to do that. Is it clear to all of you? Section 80C to section 80U. Okay, we have covered so many deductions permissible. Okay. Okay, let us go to the problem now. Okay. So the same problem is there also for your assignment, and this could come in exam also under case study or wherever it is. Okay. Let us see now. Okay, let us read this problem. Mr. Akash, aged 55 years, a resident of India, has provided the following details regarding his income for the previous year. PY is previous year 2019-20. Okay, so he has given income from salary 7 lakh rupees. It is income from salary is 7 lakh. Income from other sources is 75,000. Income from house property is 72,000. He has paid rupees 1 lakh towards premium of LIC, which has a sum assured of rupees 10 lakhs taken in the year 2015. Okay. So he has contributed towards LIC premium here. He has contributed rupees 75,000 towards provident fund. Okay. Employees contribution to PF. Okay. 75,000 he has paid. He has paid rupees 30,000 towards health insurance, okay, or medical insurance premium to cover his personal health. He has paid rupees 12,000 towards health insurance premium to cover his mother's health, okay, who is 75 years old. He has paid advance tax of rupees 8,000 through TDS, okay. His company has deducted rupees 8,000, okay, as a part of TDS. What is TDS? Tax deduction at source. So we have to calculate the final tax liability, taking into consideration the tax rates applicable for the assessment year 2021. Okay. So for the latest assessment year 2020-21, we have to find what is the final tax liability. Okay. Did you all go to the problem? Could you all get the problem here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, let us try to and attempt to solve this. Okay, now let us see. See, first now, when we are finding out the final tax liability, okay, we are trying to find now, okay, final tax liability. This is the final tax that we are going to claim when we are going to go for filing our returns. Okay, see now, come to this table here. Okay, the table you can see here. First thing is we have to get all the heads of income. Okay, all the heads of income. See, heads of income, I was telling you there are 5 heads of income. Okay, the same 5 heads of income you consider income from salary, house property, PGBP. PGBP is profits and gains of business or profession, income from capital gains, income from other sources. Okay. See, for each one of this, we had a separate unit. Okay, income from salary we already calculated in income. Okay, unit number 2. Income from house property was not there for our syllabus. Income from PGBP, okay, it was there in unit number 3. Okay, income from PGBP, we know how to calculate this. Income from capital gains was not a part of your syllabus, so we have not taken this. Income from other sources, just in the previous, in the beginning of the session, I told you, okay, things like dividend received, your interest on fixed deposits, winnings from lotteries, crosswords, and all that. They are from the part of income from other sources. The summary of those things we are going to put here under each of these heads. Okay. So now let us see here. The first one is given directly income from salary. Okay, income from salary is 7 lakh rupees. Okay. So income from salary is how much? Okay, let us take it as 7 lakh rupees. Okay, income from salary 7 lakh. Income from, okay, next is income from other sources 75,000. Okay, where is income from other sources? It is here. Okay, income from other sources is 75,000. Okay, income from house property 72,000. Okay, income from house property is how much? 72,000. Okay, 22,000. And any other income they have given here? No. Okay, they're not given any other income. So these 3 incomes we have to consider. Okay. PGBP is not given, so we will leave it. Capital gains is not given, so we'll leave it. And what is the gross total income? We have to add all these 3. Okay. Add these 3 and put as gross total income. How much is this? 7 lakhs plus 72,000 plus 75,000. How much it comes to? 7 lakhs 7 lakhs plus 72,000 plus 75,000. This comes to 8 lakh 47,000. Okay, this comes to 8 lakh 47,000. Is it correct? You have to add these three. Okay, whatever incomes is given, that makes up the gross total income, 8 lakh 47,000. Okay, next now. So once we get the gross total income, we have taken the income from the different sources of income. Out of these five, whatever is given, you have to consider, and they have given only three here. He has given only three here. So consider all the three heads of income. Okay, that gives us the gross total income. Okay, so now from this we have to deduct deductions from section 80C to 80U. Okay, these are called as deductions under chapter 6A. Okay, so whatever is given we have to consider here. Let us say now, okay, you can see here he has paid rupees 1 lakh towards premium of LIC. Okay, he has paid LIC premium to a tune of 1 lakh rupees. Okay, and the insurance policy that he has taken has got a sum assured of 10 lakh rupees, and it is taken in the year 2015. Okay, 2015. See, we have seen in case of insurance policies, okay, LIC, that especially LIC, life insurance policies, we have to consider one thing is what is the sum assured, okay, and when, in which year it is taken. If this is taken before 2012, okay, if it is taken before 2012, we have to consider 20% of sum assured as maximum limit. If it is after 2012, we have to consider only 10% of sum assured as the maximum limit. Okay, in this case here, you can see here this is 2015. That means it is after 2012. So how much we have to consider? We have to consider only 10% of sum assured. Okay, so if 10 lakhs is the sum assured, 10% of this is the maximum permissible contribution we can consider. Okay, he has paid how much? 1 lakh rupees. Okay, he has paid 1 lakh rupees. Out of 10 lakhs, up to 10%. 10% of 1 lakh, 10 lakhs is how much? 1 lakh rupees. Okay, so whatever he has paid 1 lakh rupees here, the entire amount gets qualified as eligible. Okay, see now here. Okay, that's what I have written here. Section 80C LIC premium. Okay, you can see here qualifying amount is 10% of sum assured if policy taken after 2012. Okay, if it is taken before 2012, I would have taken here 20%. Now it is only 10%. Okay, so how much he has paid for the premium? 1 lakh rupees. Okay, 1 lakh rupees he has paid. So entire eligibility is how much? Eligible is also, okay, 1 lakh rupees. Qualifying amount is, this is qualifying, this is, okay, actual spent. Next now, provident fund. Okay, how much he has paid for provident fund? He has contributed rupees 75,000 towards provident fund. Okay, so there is no maximum ceiling for that as far as provident fund is concerned. So 75,000. Okay. Eligibility is the full amount, 75,000. Okay, fully eligible. Okay, but then, okay, see now, if you see now here, okay, under section 80C, okay, we have seen there, we have seen here that section 80C CCD1, okay, section 80C CCC CCD1, okay, together there is a maximum limit. How much is that? 1,50,000. Okay, 1,50,000 is the maximum allowable or maximum allowed limit. So we have to see, you can see here now, in LIC premium, we can take 1 lakh rupees because it is 10% of sum assured. Okay, 1 lakh rupees. 75,000 provident fund, there is no ceiling there. Okay, But under section 80C, okay, section 80C, section 80 CCC, action CC, D1, together there is a, okay, you can see here qualifying amount is 1,50,000, okay, for section. Together, so I think the time is getting up, okay, once this closes, okay, I'm again going to start the same class, okay, please join it after that, okay, if it stops abruptly. I'm going to start a new meeting. Please join to that. Okay, let us complete this problem, and there is one more problem. With these two problems, we are going to complete the problems under unit 4. Okay, so qualifying amount is 1,50,000. So even though he has, okay, he has 1,75,000 here. Okay, 25,000. But qualifying amount is how much? 1,50,000. See, he has invested 1,75,000 rupees. Okay, here 1,75,000 rupees. The entire 1,75,000 can be considered, but then there is a limit on the section 80C deductions permissible. That is how much? 1,50,000. So 1,50,000 is the maximum permissible deduction under section 80C. Okay, maybe he has spent maybe he has invested 1,75,000, but the maximum ceiling is only 1,50,000. Okay, under section 80C, 80CCC, 80CCD1. Okay, so whatever is given, I'm considering here. Okay, okay. So I think it is showing less than 1 minute time here for me now. Probably it will close now. Okay, once I am able to start the meeting again, I will let you know. Please rejoin again. Okay, we'll complete this problem only. Okay, some little is there. Okay, because this is how we are going to finally calculate the tax liability. Okay, in the earlier units we have